Star Consciousness, Part 2, Chapter 10, Transformative Energies. If you have conscientiously practiced expanding your consciousness by self-remembering, self-observation, and self-reflection, you have noticed that at times you think, feel, speak, act, desire, etc., in ways that are self-destructive, activate negative energies, and evoke abhorrent feelings. As you grow, evolve, and advance towards star consciousness, you will become aware that you are capable of transforming lower frequency energies into higher frequency energies. Some years ago, I read Iris Chang's book, The Rape of Nanking, The Forgotten Holocaust of World War II. This book had a deep emotional impact on me. I was reflecting on what I read while driving. At a stop sign about a block from home, I noticed a man about 25 years old riding his bicycle down the cross street. I judged that I could easily stop, make a right turn, and drive without coming close to interfering with the man's bike ride. He felt very differently. He screamed, "You didn't stop, buddy." With those words, an intense emotional, mental storm whipped through my psyche. I thought, who the hell does he think he is? What a son of a bitch. Defensively, I thought, I wasn't anywhere close to him. I did stop. He doesn't know what he's saying. Anger and defensiveness turned quickly to an inner rage. I thought about turning back and confronting the bike rider. I visualized myself punching him out. Violent thoughts gave me a rush of adrenaline and a feeling of horror at my automatic thinking. Then it hit me like a punch in the stomach. I was resonating with the destructive energies. The young Japanese soldiers were conditioned to see the Chinese as vermin, justifying their diabolical death by ruthless murder and rape as perfectly okay, all in the name of the emperor. If I did not have a sense of horror by my violent reaction and begin to let it go, I could have gone to a diabolical place like the young Japanese soldier. Even though it was only a few seconds, I saw the bike rider as less than human. If I hadn't been reading Chang's book and thinking intensely about the implications, I would not have seen the connection between my experience and the horrifically amplified violent expression experienced by the Japanese soldier in 1937 Nanking. I realized that childhood conditioning has a profound influence on the beliefs and actions of teens and young adults. I felt fortunate that the adult authorities in my younger life had stressed anger management, peaceful resolution, and nonviolence. These were strong values that I had held deeply and cherished, despite the fact that I did not always live up to them in the ideal way. As a father of a teenage son at the time, I felt a much deeper sense of responsibility to instill nonviolent values. I realized that a parent must do what they can to encourage and model peaceful resolution and sane compromise. It gets down to one adult and one child in a relationship where there's a constructive mentoring. I realized that 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus n leads to a global culture that deeply values peace in thoughts, feelings, and actions in day-to-day life. Many years ago, I read another book, Science and Sanity, by a Polish engineer, Alfred Korzybski. He warned of the dangers of what he called the one-valued orientation. Reading the Rape of Nanking shed light on Korzybski's book. He predicted that a one-valued orientation like the one held by the Japanese toward the Chinese will lead to more world wars. He was prophetic. The solution he proposed was the teaching of what he called the consciousness of abstracting. In other words, when a person pays close attention to what he or she is seeing, experiencing in the moment, it creates what he referred to as a thalamocortical gap. The thalamus is the part of the nervous system that stores all the fight-flight instincts tapped into by the vicious Japanese in Nanking and by myself in anger toward the bike rider. He urged his readers to pause, count to 10, sleep on it, etc., allowing the nerve energy to move toward the cortex. In that way, the destructive thalamic energy could dissipate, often leading to alternatives in thought, feeling, action, and speech that were more thoughtful, compromising, and compassionate. He labeled this infinite valued orientation. Also, while reading The Rape of Nanking, another author came to mind, the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. One of his major insights was the process of facing our shadow side. He made it clear that true freedom only comes when we face our dark past, whether individual, family, community, or country. It's often monumentally difficult to face and transform the dark shadow side of the personality. Memories of my darker moments bubbled up in my mind while reading Chang. I remembered the vicious fistfight with a classmate on the playground in 3rd grade. I remembered the poundings I gave my younger brother when he was little. I remembered the brutal action I took as a high school football player. One time I broke the leg of an opponent. I could write pages and pages about my shadow side. Jung was right. By facing head-on the dark side, lessons can be learned, and therefore they can be transformed. Until every textbook in Japan, until every textbook in every classroom everywhere shines light on the shadow of Nanking, the Japanese culture and the global culture will not have begun the deeper healing and learn the lessons of Nanking and how it applies to everyone's life. As Chang writes on page 55, looking back upon a millennial of history, it appears clear that no race or culture has a monopoly on wartime cruelty. The veneer of civilization seems to be exceedingly thin, one that can be easily stripped away, especially by the stresses of war. In my book, Tuning to the Spiritual Frequencies, in Chapter 19, I provide 8 ways to transform, transmute, and regenerate your energies. Isidore Friedman, my mentor for 10 years, created the Alpha Omega Circuit, see page 84, in order to transform your energies. Here is how you use it wisely and consciously. And for those of you who are listening to this, you may have to purchase the book in order to use it, although I may post it on Patreon. Feel free to copy or draw the Alpha Omega Circuit to a size that you can use comfortably. Place the Omega Circuit on a table or desk. Choose a space that's quiet and free of negative and or distracting energies. Consider what would be wise to transform, reduce, or eliminate from your life. It can be a bad habit, a negative thought or emotion, a pressure point of the past that holds you back from being fully conscious and functioning as an energy being. Next, write down on a piece of paper what you want to let go of and place it over the 2 spiraling coils in the middle. Place your left thumb on Gamma, first finger of your left hand on Omicron, and the middle finger of the left hand on Delta. Place the fingertips of the right hand on the squiggly line that ends in output. Hold that position for about 3 minutes. Longer is not necessarily better. It's wiser to use the Alpha Omega Circuit a little at a time, maybe once a week. After 3 minutes, remove your hands and tear up the piece of paper and throw it away. Allow at least a half hour to rest and relax before resuming an active daily routine. Pay attention to your energy level. Perhaps you require an hour or 2 of peace and quiet. Generally, your psyche needs time to adjust to the transformation of energy. Again, use the Alpha Omega Circuit consciously and wisely, along with the other ways given in Tuning to the Spiritual Frequencies. Chapter 10 Summary 1. As you grow, evolve, and advance towards star consciousness, you will become aware that you are capable of transforming lower frequency energies into higher frequency energies. 2. It's often monumentally difficult to face and transform the dark shadow side of the personality. 3. By facing head-on the dark side, lessons can be learned, and there can be transformations.